Hello world, and welcome to the first episode of The Platonic Barrel, wherein I will discuss different topics about philosophy and about different philosophers. And in order to show this, I will put a bunch of photos of philosophers on the screen right now. See all these amazing, famous people who have thought about things for a very long time. And you might ask me, do I know any of them? And the answer, of course, is no. Actually, I do know a few of them, I think, but that's okay. We'll figure it out as we go along. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. They are called philosophical zombies. They are people just like you and me, and I'll get into the explanation soon, but we're going to be talking about why I think they're good proof that consciousness is not a physical thing in the world, but is something non-physical. Something that can't be detected by science, and something that can't be sensed with your senses, that kind of thing. Something that doesn't exist atomically in the physical world. So in order to explain what a philosophical zombie is, first I'm going to bring you into this game. Some of you may know it. It is a very famous game. I need to eat something quick. And I have gotten this lovely, ugly man right here in order to demonstrate some of the topics. And I've trapped him in a cage, and he's going to be stuck here forever. I'm never going to let him go. He's just staring at me blankly with black eyes, and I have little specks of, I don't know what is even in my eyes. Anyway, what is a philosophical zombie? It is precisely this. It is a copied version of oneself. So imagine this is me, but copied, a clone of myself. And this person, this person cannot feel pain. It has no consciousness, although it is a clone of myself. So imagine there are two people, two people, and one of them has been cloned. What is this clone lacking? This clone, we have to imagine of what is going on here. This is a conceptual exercise. So you have two people, one has been cloned, and its brain is exactly the same as yours, okay? Its body, its face, its hands, everything is exactly the same. It is a precise and exact clone of yourself, and yet this theoretical thing has no consciousness. And in order to demonstrate this, we're just going to use pain as an example. So if you pinch yourself right now, pinch your arm, do it, I'm doing it. You can feel it too if you pinch yourself. If you pinch your arm, you will feel pain. Now, some people don't. That's a whole nother issue. We don't have to go into that. But anyway, this zombie right here, if you pinch his arm, he will not feel pain. Everything is the same as you, except he is lacking any sort of consciousness or feeling. So, though his neurons will fire in order to demonstrate the physical sensation of pain, there will be no conscious awareness of pain, because within this zombie, there is exactly zero conscious awareness of anything. Go back in the game here. Imagine I am the conscious person. I know it's hard to imagine. And this is the unconscious person. Just look straight ahead. See these two people? One, I'm the conscious one, he is the unconscious one. This means that I feel pain and he does not feel pain. Although we can act, theoretically we should act exactly the same behaviorally. So if I were to dig some dirt, he could also dig some dirt. His brain works exactly the same as mine, except he can feel nothing. He is lacking everything of what it means to be a human. He has no awareness, no joy, no love, no pain, no loss. He is nothing. He doesn't even exist. He is darkness, void, emptiness, abyss, death. Okay, and so we've successfully conceived or imagined a philosophical zombie. It is a clone of yourself that is lacking in conscious ability, although its brain and faculties and behaviors remain exactly the same as yours. It is a theoretical object, it doesn't actually exist. Now, you're probably wondering, where does it lead us? How does this help us? How does this prove that consciousness is not a physical thing? How does it do any of that? And you are right. This brings us to part 2 of my video, called The Logical Part. Okay, prepare yourselves for a little bit of logic. I know it is difficult because one must think. To think or not to think, that is the question. And I prefer not to think, but in order to make a video like this, I had to think a little bit. So hold on tight. The roller coaster is about to begin. So, to begin this proof, we're going to just assume that a philosophical zombie can exist. He exists right next to you. He's watching you. He has his eyes fixed on you, and he can see that you are conscious. No, I don't know. But we're going to assume that he exists somewhere in the world, okay? And you'll see what this comes to. We've seen that a person who is physically identical to you does not have consciousness. Therefore, because he's physically identical to you, and yet you do have this property that he does not have, then you must have something that is non-physical. Because he's physically the same person as you are, and yet you have this conscious property. So, what's the difference between you guys? Well, it has to be that consciousness. The consciousness is the only thing different between you. How can I say it simply? It's the only thing different between you. And so, because nothing physical differs between you, consciousness must be a non-physical difference between both of you. So that is how, if the philosophical zombie exists, that is how it proves that consciousness is not a physical thing. Okay?
Yay!
So we have a if statement. If a philosophical zombie can exist, then indeed it does prove that consciousness is not a physical thing. Next, we have to move on to another second subsection of this proof, which is, get ready for a big philosophical word. It's called metaphysically possible. Ooh. But we're going to begin with that in 1 second. We've proven that if a philosophical zombie is possible, then it proves that consciousness is not a physical thing. But how do you prove that something's possible? That seems impossible. Ooh, a pun. The problem is that there's no examples in the world that we know of, unless it's you, listener, who is the zombie. And I think it's you. No, but I can't prove it. I can't prove that you are lacking in consciousness. But you probably think it's me.
Yes.
Nobody can prove that a philosophical zombie is possible or not possible. And so philosophers go into this world of the metaphysically possible and say that philosophical zombies are metaphysically possible because because they don't break a law of logic, and because they're conceivable. So metaphysically possible means that they could exist in some possible universe where, like, the laws of physics are different, where, like, some philosophical zombie could be generated that's exactly the same as us, and yet doesn't have this added piece of consciousness. That's a perfectly reasonable argument. Philosophical zombies are metaphysically possible because they're both conceivable and they don't break, like, the law of non-contradiction. They're not inherently logically flawed.
Beans.
And the argument then moves to, if they're metaphysically possible, then they prove that consciousness is a non-physical thing because they could exist in some possible world. And if we were to look at that possible world and compare, we would see that they're exactly like us, except they are lacking that conscious ability that we do have, and that lacking property is not a physical thing because we're physically identical. So that's how the argument moves into the Marvel multiverse. But there are a bunch of different critiques and different things, weird things that people try to bring up to disprove all this stuff. Like, for example, some people say that conceiving of a philosophical zombie isn't possible. By conceiving of a brain with its neurons firing, some say you have to. You simply are imagining a conscious person, which is just insane. Like, I'm imagining a brain right now with its neurons firing. That is not a conscious thing. I don't know. In philosophy, a bunch of people tend to make up a bunch of stuff, and then it all gets published, and then we study it hundreds of years later, and decades later, and then it gets republished and rewritten about forever and ever until the end of time. But the real question is, can you conceive of a philosophical zombie? And in order to, hang on one second, I'm hungry. Whoa, a conscious experience. Let's explore this a little bit, huh? Like, what is this? But yeah, some people say it's inconceivable. Some people say they just can't accept that argument. It couldn't happen. But what do you think? You can conceive of one, right? And I'll give you a better description of what consciousness is, because I know that people aren't familiar with thinking about consciousness as some kind of separate property. But if you look at your own experience, you must introspect and look at your own experience.
Wow!
I know. Look into the sky of your mind, and there's a camel. Okay, if you look into your own experience, you have these experiences. You have pain. You have feelings. You have emotions. You have desires. You have wants. And you are having a subjective experience of these things. Like, your neurons are firing and everything in order to produce your behavior. And they're correlating with certain desires and emotions that you have. But besides from those physical phenomena, you also have these experiences. It's something that it is like to be you right now, watching this. It is something that it is like to feel pain, to pinch yourself, and to have a subjective feeling of pain. It's not just two physical things hitting each other. If you threw a brick at a wall, there's no subjective experience going on there. But if you threw a brick at your leg, there's a subjective experience going on there. And maybe you can presume or deduce what kind of experience that would elicit. But there's an added ingredient to what is merely physical or atomic or neurological, and that is that feeling of pain that you get, the subjective experience. And the same thing, there's a famous experiment, the same thing is for someone seeing red.
Bruh.
And the same thing is true of your visual experience. Like, for example, when you see red.
Bruh.
One second. But when you look at something red, your eye is receiving visual information, and it is being processed by your brain and all of that. But there's this added subjective experience. It is something that it is like to see this red color, and it's good and interesting and cool. And you have this visual phenomena, this experience of seeing red, and that can't be found within your neurological correlates within your brain. It can't be found. But yet you do have this subjective experience of seeing something red. So what do we do about this? You have these subjective experiences that are added on to your neurology, and nobody knows where they come from. Nobody knows how they arise. And so this philosophical zombie argument got added, and I think it's a pretty decent proof that consciousness isn't a physical thing. Because it's a good thought experiment that, like, if he could exist, which it conceivably is possible, it's metaphysically possible that he could exist. There are arguments against it, but why couldn't he exist? Why couldn't someone that's just like you, physically identical to you, exist and yet be lacking in consciousness? Seems plausible that someone like that could exist, in some world especially. And if that were true, if that were to be true, then that would basically prove that consciousness is not a physical thing, because there's that missing ingredient that needs to be added on. Regardless, there are a bunch of arguments back and forth. It's a good thought experiment. Hopefully you guys learned something. And now it seems I am the zombie. I don't know. I might be an unconscious person just behaving like a regular person. I am inside the fence. So I don't know. Maybe it's me. But to close out this video, I'm going to give a demonstration within Minecraft of, you know, Sisyphus? I'm going to give a demonstration of Sisyphus rolling his stone up the hill. It's an analogy, so just bear with me. Here we go. I did it, guys. Well, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more videos on different cool philosophical things. Subscribe, people, because I currently have 0 subscribers, and I'm going to be posting some more. So hit that subscribe button down below, and don't be a philosophical zombie, but be a conscious person, and consciously do it. And that's all for today. See you guys later. I'm out.